Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
It's no easy task being the caretaker of one of your community's most treasured landmarks. And as Butch Kraft will tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. The Roanoker Restaurant has survived a world war and now a pandemic to celebrate 80 years of serving the public. Amanda Wright uses her science degree from Roanoke College in several ways to serve our community. She developed science curricula for Center in the Square and tutors at Creative Genius Solutions. Her ultimate vision is to prevent Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. Join us today for this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by... There's more inside the hemp mill than CBD products. There's a community. Stop in for Friday's Coffee Talk to enjoy free hemp coffee and treats. Patent pending products made from hemp for anxiety, pain relief, and organic healthy eating. Cannabinoid products you can trust because the hemp is locally grown, processed, and formulated by us with patent pending formulations. That includes our Pet Calm and dog biscuits. The Hemp Mill, women owned and operated with nutritional offerings, local cards, gifts, jewelry, and trending fashions made by women-owned businesses. TheHempMill.net.
I'm gonna be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they'd be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
See where a grateful nation remembers its heroes, and where Thomas Jefferson came to relax. Where small town charm is just down the road from big outdoor adventures. Find peace and quiet, as well as the sounds of family fun. Destination Bedford is located where the Piedmont Plateau meets the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Where ordinary ends, Bedford begins.
From the Fox Radio Roanoke Studios, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. The Roanoker Restaurant celebrated 80 years in business July 1st. Over the years, it has been the place where business is done over breakfast or lunch. Families gather for large get-togethers, and frequent customers get to know the waitstaff because they stay on staff for decades. Butch Kraft is the owner of this restaurant and joins us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
joining
having
us
me
today.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Give us a little history. Is it true that the Roanoker opened before World War II?
It did in downtown on Jefferson Street. It was in 2 locations. Then they moved to Salem Avenue due to renting buildings and stuff, and the leases ran out. And then they moved to Tower Shopping Center. When Tower Shopping Center, they moved there in 1961.
Okay.
And then we built the building where we're presently in 1982 and moved there. So we've been there since 1982.
Oh my goodness, it definitely is a landmark.
It is.
It's one of the first things when I moved to Roanoke that I used to find my way around. And I love the location, it's very convenient. So I was told that that they packed meals for soldiers. Is that true?
They did. I wasn't, of course,
Right.
there then.
Right.
But they did. Trains came through here. They packed meals for soldiers throughout the war, I believe. And then 2 of Mr. Warren, who started at Kraft and Warren, 2 of his partners joined, went into the war. Mr. Warren always had a heart issue. He didn't go, but he stayed. And then when they got out of active duty, he bought them out, and he and his wife owned it and then their son, and then ultimately I took it over.
Very good. So it's kind of a continuity going for this long history.
It is.
That's wonderful. Did the government help with any of the meals?
You know, I'm assuming they did, because he had just started out in business. I don't have a confirmation on that because I don't have anybody to ask, but I would assume that he did not have the money to provide those meals. So, he just opened in 1941.
Okay. And then it seems like things were a little less formal after the war. So tell us about the Clarkson sisters and their unusual way they initially saved the recipes.
I really didn't believe this, other than I worked with 3 of them before they retired or passed away. And they just had 5 sisters, and if one didn't show up, someone else did. The thing of writing the recipes on the wall was they would call their mother and ask for a recipe, and they would write it down on the wall. Now, I don't know why they did that, but they did. And then sometime during a period of time, the landlord painted the wall and painted away the recipes. So when EC came on board, the son of the original owner, he was real analytical anyway, so he started going everywhere with every one of them, writing down exactly what the recipe, and we still use those recipes today.
You still use some of the recipes today? Oh my goodness, what a wonderful history. I love hearing that. And then I'm talking with Butch Kraft, who is owner of the Roanoker Restaurant, and when you said it got to its current location, how did you decide on that location?
You know, every move, like when Mr. Warren moved to Towers Mall, that was the first mall, I'm assuming, in Roanoke. Well, everyone said, you'll never make it there, but he did. And he drew big crowds. And then Towers would not come to an agreement with us on renting us more space, so he decided to move some houses on Colonial. He actually had the houses moved and build a building there. And after we were there less than a year, we realized we didn't have enough parking space, so he bought more houses and built a bigger parking space.
So and now it's just custom design. It's perfect.
Yeah, it is.
And how did you come to be the owner?
The Warrens, I went to work in 1970 at Towers, and my parents were both deceased, and the Warrens became like parents to me, and really to my whole family. They really were. And then it just evolved, and they passed away, EC passed away. None of the family, that EC only had one son, he was not interested. So it ended up that I was the actual likely candidate to take it over. I'd been there for 38 years when EC passed away. So I pretty much knew the business, and they had mentored me through the years, and I felt very comfortable taking it over. It is a large responsibility.
I was going to say, what's it like to be the caretaker of such a large institution?
It is rewarding and very stressful at times. There are times that I have to even remind myself that I'm carrying on a legacy of 80 years now. I have to tell myself that.
That is very impressive. And I hear that some of your staff has been there quite a long time.
They have. I've got one hostess that's been there 45 years.
Oh my goodness.
And then we over the years have had people stay 30, 40 years. My sisters, I actually worked with 3 of my sisters. They worked for me, and they stayed over 40 years. And 2 of them passed away, and one of my sisters retired after 42 years.
Is there a secret? How do you retain your staff so long? These days, that is a very unusual accomplishment.
I think Mr. Warren set that up as he always made people feel like part of the family. And I think we all took that on because we felt like part of the family, so then we passed it on. And I think our managers feel that way, and our employees feel like they're part of our family.
I love that. We are talking with Butch Kraft, owner of the Roanoker Restaurant. And it says the Roanoke has gone from serving 50 to now seating up to 300. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what keeps your customers coming back?
It's simple, consistently good food and service.
That's all it takes,
And
right?
yeah, and that was his mission, to provide good food at a fair price in a friendly atmosphere. And he was so friendly, and EC was so friendly. And then it's just always been, a lot of our customers are part of our family too.
I love that. So we all have heard how hard the pandemic was, especially on places like restaurants. How did you guys survive?
We didn't close down one day.
You did?
We stayed open for takeout and curbside. It was, we were up all the night before when they announced the closing, and we just stayed open, pushed on. Our employees were great. Our loyal customers were there every day picking up food.
I think that says so much about your services, about your food. And then 80 years is a long time. What do the next 80 hold for the Roanoker?
I really couldn't predict that, but I can say that the last 80 has been a blessing to a lot of people, including me.
Sure, I am sure. Tell us, we have just a couple minutes left. Tell us a little bit about some of your menu items, the popular ones. What do people keep coming back for? What do you get requests for on a regular basis? Do you have a favorite dish that people seem to ask for?
At breakfast, of course, the sausage, gravy, and biscuits.
Oh, okay.
At breakfast, that's the number one. We still have meatloaf, chicken and dumplings. We still have fried chicken, lots of fried chicken they come for. Oh, yes. And we have enhanced the menu over the years, but we have kept the basics.
Okay, so do you holidays? Do you do special? Is it always a table, or is it ever a buffet? How do you serve?
It's always table
service. Okay.
And then we do a lot of large takeout orders for whole turkeys and things like that.
So people can order like
Yes.
a Thanksgiving meal from you?
Yes,
Oh
they
my
can.
goodness, that's wonderful. And what would they get?
They would get the turkey, dressing, gravy, cranberry relish, the whole package. They could get sides such as mashed potatoes, green beans, whatever they
Sweet
want to order.
Sweet potatoes or whatever?
Yes.
Do you also do desserts?
Yes, we do.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this sounds like a feast in the making, and I wouldn't have to cook. I really like that. Well, I think that, being a woman restaurant owner, I don't know, do you feel that that's something that makes you a little bit different than a lot of the other restaurants in the area, or is that something that's coming along and there are more women in this field?
No,
is it a good field for women?
I think so.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of restaurant owners that are women.
You do? Is it because they like to cook, or that they feel comfortable in a kitchen?
I don't like to cook.
I don't either. That's why I'm thinking, oh my goodness, takeout. That sounds great to me.
But we, I think when you've been in the business, and you may have started out at the bottom and moved up, and then one day I owned it. It just happened. I don't even know how it happened. But
so it wasn't maybe necessarily in your plans when you were young, but it happened.
Was not. It was not.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us
You're welcome.
today, Butch.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. We'll have Butch's contact information on our website, sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com, and we will have more when we come back after this.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
There's There's more inside the hemp mill than CBD products. There's a community. Stop in for Friday's Coffee Talk to enjoy free hemp coffee and treats. Patent pending products made from hemp for anxiety, pain relief, and organic healthy eating. Cannabinoid products you can trust because the hemp is locally grown, processed, and formulated by us with patent pending formulations. That includes our Pet Calm and dog biscuits. The Hemp Mill, women owned and operated with nutritional offerings, local cards, gifts, jewelry, and trending fashions made by women-owned businesses. TheHempMill.net.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-654-9116, 800-654-9116, 800-654-9116. That's 800-654-9116.
Once again, from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Amanda Wright developed science curricula for Center in the Square. She also created a Facebook community called Meteorology and Oceanography and is an academic and brain health coach for Creative Genius Solutions. Thank you for joining us today, Amanda. Has science always been an interest of yours?
Well, yes, it absolutely has, and thank you for inviting me as well. And my interest in science, I guess, would have started definitely when I was a child. My mom used to watch Cosmos with Carl Sagan, not with Neil deGrasse Tyson, but with Carl Sagan, and she always kind of, pushed us towards science. So my love for it developed, along the way. But I wouldn't say it hit until really I was in high school and I started dating. And the guys that I dated were studying to become chemists when they went to college or going into math or physics or engineering. And that just kind of caught fire at that point. So I was influenced, I would say, by the guys I dated.
That's very understandable.
And my junior year project in high school about suntan lotions and sunscreens, and I was researching the ozone layer. And my physics teacher in high school, his name was Sheldon Smith, rest in peace, he was listening to me talk about the ozone layer, and he's like, are you telling me that we're actually X, Y, and Z is happening in our ozone layer? And I'm sitting here like, yeah, maybe I am. And he's like, that sounds like you need to investigate that. So my senior year physics teacher in high school took me under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes and got me in touch with NASA Wallops facility to fly an instrument whenever I had finished making it. And I talked to NASA Langley over the summer just to figure out if I was on the right track with my research. So this very much influenced the idea of going into some sort of science after high school.
Well, that sounds fascinating to me, but didn't you drop out of college after high school?
I did.
So tell me about that. And what led you to go back was it in your 30s, may I ask? Okay, go ahead.
Things happen, and I did not realize that my childhood trauma, which, doesn't sound like I had any, my high school years were actually my most normal years growing up. But before that, when my parents were getting divorced, and they were divorced when I was 8 years old, and there were several things that happened, adverse childhood experiences, those all added up, and I didn't realize that these things were playing into my psyche in my ego as to why I was struggling through college. Because I was a student that did very well. I was National Honor Society for 2 years, and I was missed. I behaved. So any trauma that I had, or ADHD that I was not diagnosed with until I was 38, was completely missed.
Oh my goodness.
So nobody knew I was struggling so hard. My parents didn't even know how hard I was struggling because I didn't want to tell them I was struggling, you know.
Sure, I
the
understand.
oldest child.
Yes, we're the achievers. I am also,
Yeah.
right? We have to achieve. Mm-hmm.
So we didn't struggle, we achieved. That's the way it worked. And having a family with lower income, you know, you needed to achieve in order to be able to hold on to your scholarships. You needed to achieve in order to kind of beat everybody else out and be noticed and recognized. So a lot of those things, played into my psyche, the not good enough, you know, never quite, you know. So it hurts when your parents compare to another family or something like that, and they don't mean to. A lot of times parents don't realize what they're doing when they're doing it. Right. They're only going by how they were raised.
Right. Or they think they're motivating you in some strange way.
Right. And you're like, no, this is not, no. And with ADHD, nobody knew I had oppositional defiance disorder because I wasn't out loud about it. But you would tell me something, I go do the opposite.
Oh my.
Yeah, and so that played a role in that as well.
Yes.
So by the time I hit my 30s, I'm saying to myself, I was in retail for at least 15 years by that point. And while I had made good money earlier in the early 90s selling computers, there's the nerd factor again, the science nerd factor. I realized it wasn't sustainable by my mid-30s. And I knew I had to do something. So I went back to Virginia Western Community College at 34 years old, and I started majoring in math. Well, as much as I liked math, I liked the application of it. I did not like the theory.
Okay.
And I finished up with an associate in science by filling it with chemistry courses and oceanography. We actually had an oceanography course at that point. They didn't have meteorology yet. I also took a bunch of English classes as well. Okay. Which kept my sanity. Sure. And it raised my GPA too. So, because by the time you start getting to the really hard math, you start noticing your GPA slides a little bit. So, and from there, I went to Roanoker College for 4 years. Okay. And I just took my time because they said, you know, you can major in this, you could graduate in 2 years, or you can just take your time and graduate in 4. Well, I graduated in 4 with a degree in physics, a bachelor's of science in physics. Wow. After switching from math to chemistry, seeing organic chem and going, oh, no, this is not what I want to do. And realizing I really liked my physics class. And the way the physics professors are over there, they're always looking at, hey, you need to be a physics major.
That's great. They gave you some guidance that you could use, you know. So I guess then the next question is, you use your degree in several different ways, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you become a community builder at meteorology and oceanography?
Well, I started that out of fun.
Oh, okay.
Because I was noticing on my Facebook page, I kept sharing all this research in meteorology and oceanography, and I'm like, I'm wondering if I'm just annoying everybody with my posts constantly. So I started a Facebook community based around meteorology and oceanography, tying in with other Facebook groups. At the time, it was around 2,000 followers. It's not huge, but it's enough. And I've had people contact me from all over the world looking for more information about various topics in oceanography, especially in physical oceanography, because it's a tough topic to research. And I had done research in college with the chemistry department for modeling atmospheric molecules. And the next year I went to Coastal Carolina and did research in the summer on how veligers, little oysters, travel in a turbulent environment. So we were doing the beginning work for that kind of research at Coastal Carolina. So I just decided, well, let me take my love of this and I'll just put it in this community, and it just started growing. And people I'll still get messages every once in a while. I would say the biggest source of my followers is from Brazil.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So you get all over. So we are talking with Amanda Wright, an academic coach with Creative Genius Solutions. And then what types of issues are you helping students and their families deal with, to change course a little bit?
Well, a lot of families need help right now, especially coming
I should clarify, this is with Creative Genius Solutions.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. So
a lot of families are coming out of this pandemic, and they need more guidance. They're realizing that they may have some underlying anxiety issues. They may have ADHD that was never diagnosed, and they're realizing issues with their own children are starting to crop up. And they're realizing they need more tools. And that's basically what I do as a coach, is I provide tools for families. I help guide them through all of these changes. So I have certifications in transformation coaching and rational emotive behavioral therapy coaching. Neurology is my second love.
Okay.
And I also have a certification from Amen Clinics in brain health coaching.
Okay.
And
sounds really interesting.
Amen Clinics has done a lot of research. They have over 170,000 scans of blood flow through people's brains. Wow. And what they do with those is they help create a more accurate diagnosis. So they take the psychiatric history. They take other history, like have you ever had traumatic brain injury? And I pretty much apply the same things in what I do. But without them going to spend the $5,000 to get a scan. So we do everything we can here first locally to provide a support system, whether or not their student needs to be on an IEP team. And I do the visits with the IEP team as well. I coordinate with psychiatrists, therapists, even general practitioners. Functional medicine doctors. So I coordinate with all of them to help provide the family the best support possible. And what I coach the families with and their kids, it's not just academics, it's actually twofold. There's the academics part.
Okay.
And then there's the social part of the child that generally needs more work too. So it's families learning how to interact better with each other, communicate better, as well as being able to, help them with their academics. So I work with parents who are willing to be coached and willing to be guided so that they can have better relationships with their children.
Okay, well, we're running out of time. And just very quickly then, to your last topic that's so interesting to me is, why is preventing Alzheimer's and other types of dementia so important to you?
Well, my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and we took care of her in my mom's home for the last 3 months of her life. That had left a serious mark for me, as far as watching somebody's life just go before them and helping somebody pass through to whatever the other side looks like. And basically with that, what I understand is that if you have ADHD, if you have anxiety, depression, you're up to 3 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's and dementia down the road. So one of my major visions for Creative Genius Solutions is to prevent Alzheimer's, prevent dementia, help people fill in the gaps, so that way it doesn't cost them as much later, whether it's cost financially versus emotionally.
So thank you very much for being with us, Amanda. It's been a pleasure having you on our show. And we will have Amanda's contact information on our show notes at Sisterhood of the Second Act. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show.
Where there is nothing, artists see something. Where there is silence, they hear a melody. Where there is beauty, they create even greater beauty. In a region known for its beautiful mountain surroundings, our vibrant arts community makes the Allegheny Highlands a more colorful place to live and visit. Our passion for the arts is endless, and it's uniquely Allegheny.
I want to thank Butch Kraft and Amanda Wright for joining us today. Butch shared her inspiring story of starting out as a worker in a restaurant to becoming its owner and growing it into a large and popular landmark that was able to withstand a pandemic. And Amanda inspired us with her ability to teach and train on a variety of subjects, encouraging all of us to follow our passions. I'm Kathy Heberle. Join us again next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.